So, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. We are trying to walk the Bodhisattva path in our own little ways. So, as we always do, we will continue with those teachings of training the mind. But before we begin with the teaching, let us take these vows again. It's good to remind ourselves of these again because we forget. So, yeah. So, if one of you could read the vows out for us, it would be nice.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yes, Ritu. Please.
May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles, and for the boundless multitudes of living beings. May I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened.
Yeah, thank you so much. And now we are going to again. So I do this again and again, also for myself because it's good to read them, go through them again because we forget. So these are the verses that we have been doing. We are today on verse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think six. This would be six. And but anyway, even if those we have done, we will read them again so that they go inside us and all the garbage can come out. So we'll, like, if we are three of us, Aisha doesn't have a connection which is stable. If she can read, it would be nice. So we'll read one by one uh, these verses just to remind us. So yeah, Ritu, please go ahead.
Atisha's Lojong root verses on training the mind. The supreme understanding is to realize the meaning of selflessness. The supreme spiritual discipline is to tame one's own mind. The supreme great quality is altruism. The supreme oral instruction is to observe the mind at all times. The supreme remedy is to know that nothing has self nature. The supreme conduct is to be in disharmony with the world. The supreme accomplishment is a continuous decrease of disturbing emotions.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So, Aisha, would you like to read? Possible?
Yeah, I can try, but I don't know if my audio will be very clear,
Yeah, it's
Monica.
it's it's clear so far. So please go ahead.
The supreme sign of accomplishment is a continuous decrease of wishes and wants. The supreme generosity is non attachment. The supreme ethical conduct is to pacify one's mind. The supreme patience is to take the lowest place. The supreme effort is letting go of activity. The supreme concentration is not altering the mind. The supreme wisdom is not to grasp onto anything as the self. The supreme spiritual teacher is the one who exposes our hidden flaws.
Yeah, please read this one also. Yeah, continuation.
And the supreme instruction is the one that helps us to strike at those flaws.
Thank you so much. So these last few ones I can read. The supreme companions are mindfulness and alertness. The supreme inspiration is enemies, hindrances, disease, and suffering. The supreme method is to be natural. The supreme way of benefiting is to help others enter the dharma. The supreme benefit is a mind that turns toward the dharma. So let us start today with the verse 6, which is a bit kind of tricky because when we read it, it appears like really. So it says the supreme conduct is to be in disharmony with the world. So before I start with the teaching that we are going to listen to today by Jetsunma Tenzin Palmo, let us share our present thoughts when we what comes to us. It would be nice to know what comes to us because we all know, it's not all the knowing and wisdom is in us. So there must be some hints and clues when we read this sentence, what comes to us. That they are saying the supreme conduct is to be in disharmony with the world. So, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would think that, I mean, the day-to-day practical examples would be like earlier, I would enjoy going out with friends in a group of people. Now I mean, it's difficult to understand or enjoy those outings. So probably something like that. Maybe like going to parties, dressing up for the parties, jewelry, makeup. So all that seems to be very natural and very obvious, but then it seems to be very redundant.
या ब्यूटीफुल. आपकी बात सुन के मेरे को वो वाला गाना याद आ गया. वो था ना एक, हम आपके हैं कौन में था शायद. This song, when they show Madhuri Dixit is growing up and maybe falling in love with
Uh,
Salman Khan. So you remember this song, very famous, chocolate, lime juice, ice cream, toffeeਆਂ.
yeah, yeah,
पहले
yeah.
जैसे अब मेरे शौक हैं कहाँ. You remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so beautiful. And today I was reading something from the mother where mother was saying that if you feel alone in the middle of many, many people, like you're standing in a crowd and yet feeling alone, you feel a void, that is the time to turn to the divine because only divine can fill up that void.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful turning. Yeah, Aisha, any thoughts from you on disharmony with the world?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what Ritu says. There's this word that I heard a few years ago that the first thing that happens is कि इंसान निसंग हो जाता है, not to get too busy into the world, into what's not going to really last.
Beautiful. Yeah. And to a worldly fellow, it can actually appear as, oh my God, what's happening? Like something disappointing. But if you talk to a spiritual fellow, truly a spiritual fellow, he would be delighted to hear that this is happening, that you are finally getting disenchanted from the world. Because now this is a new phase for each one of us. It's like a new birth that now we have ripened. We have had all these experiences of again and again, falling into love, relationships, and not getting lasting happiness anywhere. So, this disappointment, in Hindi, they use the word udasinta. It's actually a very delightful stage spiritually. So world is doing something else. The whole herd is going towards ambition, more and more accumulation, more property, more finances, elite kind of living. But now all of that doesn't bring you delight. So let's at this moment let's hear what Tenzin Palmo has to say on
One
this.
more thing. I was today listening to a talk by the mystique called Akhandanandi. So he was actually explaining the meaning of the word Udasin. So since we've talked about it, so he said like if we try to understand the word, so it is a sandhi of two words, ud plus asan. So asan means a place, a place to sit, and ud means higher. So in a way, Udasin basically means like the world is at one place and then you are sitting at a different level looking at the world. So that is Udasin. So you have that asan which is a little different from the other, higher from the other. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. This is the exact explanation which your father had given me once he had shared the word with me.
Yeah.
And he was
But
sharing that this is given as a title Like it's a title for spiritual
Right,
masters. Yeah,
right, right. So I
beautiful.
had heard about it from you, but then today, since it was a coincidence, I was listening to
Hmm.
the talk, and this word came up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And it really changes the meaning, when you go into the root, like you shared, the root, ud and asin.
Mhm.
Because usually when we say, Are itna udas kyun hai? So we take it in a very disappointing way.
Right. So we take
While,
it as if you're lonely and you're
ha,
like sad and
yes, yes. Great.
actually I think the society has made being lonely as something being sad.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. हमसे बर्दाश्त नहीं होता अगर कोई जना अपने में खुश रहता है ना अकेले.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember
तो
as kids
तू
when we
अकेले कैसे जा सकती है वॉक पे, हाउ इज इट
were
पॉसिबल. या प्लीज गो
even
अहेड.
watching if somebody was sitting alone, you would like बेचारी अकेली बैठी है. I mean something like that, we would find it very strange that okay, maybe she doesn't have the right skills to talk, or maybe people don't want to get along, get talk to her. So being alone was always like something which is very negative.
And you would not believe that even in the school, for example, once I remember somebody was sharing that there was a child who was very content, true story, very content with himself. And the teacher would call the parents and say that you have to maybe, he's too content with himself, and maybe make play dates with other fellows so
Hmm.
that he knows how to socialize. It's not that the child was not socializing,
Right,
but
right.
he was very content with himself.
Mhm.
So it was really amazing to see that first we spoil this
Yeah.
aloneness and
Hmm.
then we want to come back to it.
Right.
But that's our path.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's hear a few minutes and then we can share reflections, more reflections. So, yeah, just starting with this verse, supreme conduct is to be in disharmony with the world.
In disharmony with the world. Because the world, the Buddha said that anyone who seriously is practicing dharma means the spiritual life. Anyone seriously practicing dharma is like a fish swimming upstream when the rest of the shoal are swimming downstream. So it's a very lonely journey. And at the same time, it takes a lot of effort to go against the current, to swim upstream. Because it is such a lonely journey, therefore, community is very important. In Buddhism, it's the third refuge, the Sangha, the spiritual community. The Buddha very much praised good companionship. In fact, his attendant and cousin Anand one time said to the Buddha, I've been thinking about it, Bhagavan, and I think that spiritual community, companionship, is half the spiritual life. And the Buddha said, no, Ananda, it's the whole of the spiritual life. This need for good companions, meaning people who share the same values, who it doesn't mean that they have to belong to the same particular religion, but it does mean, and we see it here, everybody comes from so many different spiritual traditions, but we are in harmony because we share the same values. And this is very important, and more important today than ever, when the world is so completely wanting to go in one direction, and we are trying to go in another direction. Especially with the question of ethics. Someone was mentioning yesterday that, in business and in so many of these organizations, ethics doesn't even come into it. It's all about profits. There's no ethics. There's no idea of living in this world harmlessly, with discipline. That would be laughed at as weak rather than seen as a great strength. But most important is our question, as I said yesterday, all beings want to be happy. Where we believe happiness lies. Basically, there are two opposing views. Well, they can come together, but it's hard. One is that happiness, secular happiness, depends on the pleasure principle. So therefore, it means that the more our senses derive pleasure, the happier we will be. And along with that, the idea that the more we possess, the more I become real. I identify with my possessions. My car, my house. It always has to be bigger and more impressive so that people will admire, wow, what a fantastic car. That makes me somebody special. All these stretch cars you see over by the Atlantis. Somebody was saying, well, who would want a car like that? It's a good question. Somebody who is very insecure and needs to bolster themselves by their possessions. People envy the possessions. They think, therefore, you must be a special person to own that. And in that, they believe happiness will life. Only you can get enough and you can keep having. Basically, it's a matter of wanting to be happy and comfortable in samsara. But samsara, by its very nature, is not only impermanent, but very unsatisfactory. So it doesn't work. You look at these people on their yachts. Do they look happy? I mean, there you've got this multi-million yacht. So why aren't you blissed out?
Just taking a pause here, and if there are any reflections, we can talk about that.
Yeah, what she said was very, very touching, very true. I mean, it's the example of the fish swimming against the current. It's so much easier to swim with the current, but swimming against the current is um, actually difficult.
And as she was sharing, that one feels alone at times because everyone is going there, but you don't want to go there now. And that's why the importance of community,
Yeah.
because many a times people talk about that I want to do it alone, but no one did it alone.
Mm-hmm.
No one did it alone. Everyone learned it from their masters and masters and masters, and from somewhere, maybe nature. No one did it alone. So I think this wanting to do alone also maybe is arrogance on our part, because why not to take help?
Yeah.
Either take, books help us, teachings from nature help us, discussions with people help us. And I was talking to a friend that day that I don't understand this glitch about not wanting to take help. And I somehow I feel that we only take help when we feel that अब मेरे से तो नहीं हो रहा, चलो अब मांगते हैं help. But why not at the very first instance? Because I feel that in my journey I have taken so much help. Like I've asked again and again that now I need guidance, I need help. And the moment I have asked, I have received. Such is the beauty of the universe. So knowing that no one did it alone and we all need each other, we all are holding each other's hands on this path. It's not an easier journey as it was shared, and that's why the importance of a good companionship, like a person who himself is on the path and hence can guide, whenever we discuss or talk, one can get guided towards the path again, because we will sway, we slip, so one can just do the inner alignment again and again. So that's why the importance of companionship.
But then, finding a similar companion who would have same thoughts and who would be wanting to follow the same journey maybe. So it's very difficult. I think one is very lucky if one is able
No,
to.
I don't think it's being referred to only one partner,
Okay.
because as she was sharing that when we talk in Buddhism, we take refuge in Buddha, Dharma and Sangha.
Mm-hmm.
So Sangha is community of
Mm-hmm.
like-minded individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are talking, I understand where you are talking from. Aisha understands what you are talking, why you are giving this, why we are giving importance to, for example, taming the mind, training the mind. So we have this priority in front of us, and it's
Yeah.
a common priority. It's a common aspiration. So it's not about finding one particular partner,
Mm-hmm.
and it would never be just one partner. No matter it may appear from, for example, when we look at Mother and Sri Aurobindo's life,
Mm-hmm.
it looks from far off that only these two were companions and rest all doesn't matter. But when we go deeper into their stories, we see that they had a community of, slowly, gathering community of seekers through
Mm-hmm.
which, they were working and evolving and helping others evolve.
Yeah.
तो वो ऊपर से लगता है कि एक पार्टनर है, बट एक किसी का होता नहीं है, बहुत होते हैं. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And when we are willing, when we have this pure aspiration in the heart that now this is the path I want to tread upon and not the commonly taken one, then we get, the more purified our aspiration gets, I think we get people on the way. It's like it's more of a happening. It happens. And also, once Jetsunma was talking about renunciation, true renunciation, and she used an example of a baby, for example, a toddler or a baby, and who is very used to the soft toys. And she said that now, if I want to now snatch away that soft toy from that child, it would be too harsh, because the child still wants it. But true renunciation is that you have grown in your evolution so much that now you don't even feel the need to go back to those soft toys.
Mm-hmm.
And soft toys is my expectations and demands from the world,
Yeah.
in other sense. Yeah. So now I have seen so much, I have suffered so much, that I don't even feel the need to get something from there, because I have found something, something here, something true is waiting for me here inside. सो दैट्स ट्रू रिनंसिएशन. उसमें फिर मेरे को स्ट्रगल करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ रही, दैट मन तो बहुत कर रहा है लेकिन मैं जा नहीं रही.
Right.
अब तो मन भी नहीं कर रहा. तो उसी की हम जो स्टार्टिंग में व्हाट वी स्टार्टेड विद ना, कि उसको डिसअपॉइंटिंग में वे में भी लिया जा सकता है कि अब तो मन ही नहीं करता शॉपिंग करने का, क्या करें. और एक हो सकता है कि यार जरूरत ही नहीं फील होती.
Mm-hmm.
और करनी है तो कर भी लेंगे, ऐसा नहीं है, बट इट्स नॉट दैट माय कंटेंटमेंट इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन द शॉपिंग. या
Mm-hmm.
so we'll go ahead if nothing more, and then we'll take up more reflections later. So I want to jump to this 42 now. Yes.
But also poor people can be very, very happy because they have an inner strength. And also the understanding that happiness also depends very much on making our prime motivation the happiness of others. So this again goes against the current. The idea is you've got to make yourself okay. You and yours, of course, your family. That's as far as it's going to go. But on the spiritual path, our loving kindness and compassion extends to all beings. You know, recently we had an influx of small nuns. I mean, I was quite shocked. I won't tell you how small the smallest is, but she wears a bib. But they've settled down very happily. They're fine. And the older nuns have taken them in very well, and they're very happy to look after them. But recently, one of them, she was probably about 7 or 8, somebody asked her, "Oh, now you're here. You can pray for your mother and all your family." And this little girl said, "Here, we pray for all beings." So that's the point, that we are also concerned with all beings, not just those that we happen to be connected with and that we happen to love. Of course we care for them, but we care for all beings. And this also goes against what society tells us, which is to look out for number one. So this sense of not being in disharmony, as I say, in the sense of quarreling and arguing, but in the sense of really wishing happiness and feeling the pain of all beings, goes against the current. And because of that, because instead of getting angry and upset, we try to develop patience. Instead of trying to acquire more and more, we learn how to be more open, more generous, to share. This goes against the current. And as I say, therefore, because in the world, while you're here with each other, it's easier. But when you go back to your homes, to your jobs, then it is very important to nonetheless feel that support of good friends. Good friends means spiritual friends. People who share our values, who believe what we believe. As I say, it's not a matter of particularly of religious path, it's a matter of underlying good values. It's very important for us because we are living and thinking in discord with the world. The world says, "Go, you've got to go this way." And we're saying, "No, we want to go this way." We're swimming upstream. And it helps to be in the company of a few others who are also swimming upstream. The supreme
So I was talking to a friend who is currently going through mm, some kind of darkness and depression, and relatively, I would say, a spiritual fellow. But as we all have egos, so does he. And whenever we talk about egos, we get stubborn about a particular thing, that if I want happiness, the happiness has to come from this person. If I want something, it has to come, that person has to behave in this way, otherwise I'll be mad or sad. And that sadness sometimes stretches too far, and it takes us down and down and down. And since I have myself been through such phases, and I realized that I just had to leave my stubbornness, that I want happiness this way. Just that stubbornness has to be left. Otherwise, we are really, really granted with too much. We have the possibility of talking on Zoom. We could not think of this few years ago. We have so much of material, spiritual texts, YouTube talks available online, freely accessible. Many of them don't have any charge, many PDFs, books. We have, at least here, we have people who we can reflect with. We have people at home, maybe some of us may have people have at home who we can reflect with. I mean, isn't that amazing? So when we leave that stubbornness, then we can see how grateful we are. Yes, Aisha. Aisha, you wanted to share? Please go ahead.
I'm just sorting out my connection again.
Acha, acha. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Ritu.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, all the options which are there, and we usually do not notice them, especially YouTube, going and seeing any video we want to. I mean, if one can think about a life like this 50 years back, I remember my one of my aunt, when Doordarshan and TV was introduced, she was so happy because she could see the temples in the south of India sitting at a home. And I mean, look at us. We can hear these talks of Tenzin Palmo and so many others just sitting at home whenever we feel like. So it is actually kind of magical only.
Absolutely. There was one teaching by Thich Nhat Hanh, I think in one of the sessions I may have shared it, where he shares that somebody asks a question, what to do, how to be in the present moment when the present moment feels unbearable. And he says that when we are connecting with the breath mindfully, bringing the mind to the present moment and the body with the help of breath, then we can actually be with the pain that is there. And he says that, first of all, it's our only chance to meet the pain only in the present moment, when we are mindfully anchored in the present moment, empathizing with the pain and holding the pain. And then he also shared that when we bring the mind to the present moment and we realize that, oh my God, there are so many other conditions of happiness possible. So if I leave that one stubbornness of mine कि वहीं से आना चाहिए, then we see that, wow, I have a healthy body, relatively healthy, it's functional, I can talk, my intelligence is working properly, I can feel grass and the nature is around, I can breathe properly, I can do so many stuff on computers, for example, all the works can be done. So many other conditions of happiness are possible. So when we are, since all of us, pain is a part of our life, we cannot escape pain. And as long as we live as the ego self, we will have pain, because otherwise I would not know that beep beep, I am connected again with the ego self. So pain and suffering is like also this kind of a beep beep. Also most of the suffering is self created. Although there we can live with a continuous pain, I think that is a possibility, because when we see suffering in the world, it is impossible that you say stay delighted. So you sense the pain of others, and yet you're not unhappy in that sense. You are content with yourself, and then you do all the stuff that you can do to take in others' pain and to give them happiness, joy, and simplicity of the present moment. So I think this really helped me in that phase when I was going through a difficult time, that if I only could leave my stubbornness aside, then there are actually so many conditions of happiness possible. So many things that we can be grateful for. and walk the path like we are doing, walking the path, taking the baby steps. So this was the supreme conduct, is to be in this harmony with the world. So when others are running towards pleasure, sense gratification, now because I have done that enough and seen how full of suffering that becomes, I don't want to go there. So that is how I go against the current now. And making others happy. For example, she was sharing that if they are members of my family, then of course I want to do all something for them. But if they are not of my family, then how do I care? So this also is against the current. That people may say, your colleagues may say that, but he doesn't belong to your family, so why are you doing so much for him? One may say. But that is what now we want to do, that since the world is one family, it doesn't matter whether it's only 4 members of my family or not. I would extend myself to everyone. So that is again going against the current. So disharmony with the world, making others happy, not caring much for your own happiness, putting your expectations at the side, knowing that as long as the ego self is there, some or the other demand will remain. But now I'm not going to focus on those demands, letting them be, maybe keeping them in the pocket for some time and not following their dictates. And then praying for all, as she was sharing. So whenever we feel pained in our family, something happens that we feel pained and suffering, then we can connect with all the others who are suffering in this way. So now I know how everyone suffers when their loved ones are going through suffering, for example. So let me connect with that pain of others and take it in, and may everyone has joy, happiness and progress in their life. Take the suffering in, take it in, take it in. Like Shiva, he consumes the poison, and the poison, he doesn't let the poison poison him. So when I'm taking in the suffering, it's not poisoning me, because I'm doing it with a purified intention. And also following our joy, because mostly when we talk about jobs and finances, we always say that you have to earn this much and this much should be in your bank and balance and everything. But now, since we have seen that enough, we have seen that how fleeting life is. Now I don't want to accumulate for future that much, that the whole focus is on accumulation. Now can I follow my joy in whatever work I am doing? Just following the joy, that okay, this brings me delight, true delight, not just sense gratification. And that is why I want to follow my heart. And one has to dig it hard, because mother says that we have forgotten, we are all a bundle, like a bouquet of flowers, different flowers, and we all have different potentialities, but we have forgotten our uniqueness. So one has to dig it out, like lots of observation is required. But while I am digging it out and I don't know what I truly want to do with my life, mother says that whatever we are doing, do it in the sense of an offering. So if there is a little work given to me, offer it in true sincerity and do it as best as you can. Whatever work comes your way, knowing that it is just a temporary vocation, this is not my complete true calling, but I would do it with as much surrender, as much offering as I can. So doing it is in the best possible manner, following our joy. Again, following our joy goes against the current, because usually we are just beating ourselves up to earn this much salary and earn this much house, this much property. But now, since we have done that enough, we don't want to do that anymore, realizing it. And if we have less and we still want to share, that also goes against the current. So I think Aisha had shared once with me that there was I think she was on a stall with puppies to be adopted. And there was this monk who had the last, I think, 500 rupee note which he offered to the donation camp. So this would appear very maddening or foolish even to a material mind. But I think if this can happen, then there is a lot of hope for humanity. That we follow our heart, we follow our joy, no matter if we are not having much for ourselves, because we know that we are all taken care of. So having that faith that things will be provided, things will be provided. Yeah. So I will stop my blah blah here and take up maybe last, if there are any last comments or reflections.
So can there actually be a situation where we have 100% faith that everything will be provided? I mean, I know saints and mystics and all who probably live in the Himalayas and all, they would be living at that moment, not bothering about the next meal and how the next day is gonna be. But in our situation, is it actually possible that we just do not bother about tomorrow?
You think it's possible for you? Can you do that?
Seems to be very difficult because, see, even if I'm not bothered about a lot, I mean, too much of planning, but still, like, I would still maybe think about the next hour or the evening. I mean, इतना तो planning थोड़ा बहुत हो ही जाता है.
No, I think planning is not a problem.
Yeah.
But whatever problem I feel is that we stick to our planning.
Mm-hmm.
वो जो चिपचिपाहट है ना हमारे में,
Mm-hmm.
बस उसकी प्रॉब्लम है, क्योंकि उसकी वजह से भी कॉज सफरिंग टू अस ना, कि व्हाई
Yeah.
डिड दिस नॉट हैपन द वे आई हैड प्लान्ड, माय प्लान वाज राइट, सो दैट मेक्स अस सफर. We can plan, definitely we have minds and we have thoughts and ideas and imaginations. I don't think there is any problem with planning.
Yeah.
Mother says, mother, you there is a little compilation called powers within, where
Mm-hmm.
mother is talking about power of thought and imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So there she says that, first of all, notice your thoughts, and if you see the current of your thoughts going into a negative direction, you notice it and you change it into a positive direction. So for example, what do I do? If I have ill will around anyone, and the world is bad, the situation is bad, and the moment I become conscious of this thought, immediately I look at it and I say, no, 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 I don't want to go there, because it's a beaten track. You have done that again and again, so your mind slips down the slide. But
Mm-hmm.
if I become conscious of it, I say, no, I know that I am taken care of, and everything will be shown to me. I know that I am taken care of. So one has to, this is, mother says that this can be also called as affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And why do I need affirmation? Because I have been so much habituated to walk on the negative path. So to break that habit of the negative path, which now is not serving me well, I have to make a new habit of a off beaten path. So this is something which I have practiced myself. And for example, when I was diagnosed in the beginning, I remember that there used to be much anxiety in the being, because I had two little kids. Now as a mother, I would often wonder that mere baad inka kya hoga, for example, because
Yeah.
as soon as you have anything like this, you are wondering that up to next to death hai, you're gone. So I remember I wrote down in copies, like filled up copies and copies, because I wanted to change this. I noticed my negative pattern and I said, no, I am going to be all right, and I know I am taken care of. Starting May, it can appear as foolishness, as if you are fooling yourself. The mind will say that, no, no, ye to foolishness hai. But that's only a thought, doesn't matter. And I remember writing again and again, my bladder is full of light, clear, and healthy. My bladder is full of light, clear, and healthy. Now, it doesn't matter that I had to undergo the surgery after that. It doesn't matter. But it brought me a lot of relief, and my anxiety was gone. So mother talks about this, that this is how we can use the power of imagination. So for example, mother says, create a beautiful imagination. Since you were talking of planning, create as harmonious, as beautiful as you can. And what do you do after that? You give it to the mother. So this we forget to do. उसे प्लान से चिपक जाते हैं ना. तो बस यही करना है कि मदर अब देखो, आपको भला लगे, इफ यू डीम फिट, this will happen, I know. And if you think something else is more important that should happen, then let it happen. So plan by all means, use your imagination, use your ideas. Yeah.
Actually, isn't this taking us away from surrender, truly surrendering, to even have positive thoughts?
Actually वही stages की बात है ना. तो अभी अगर मेरा mind, it's very active, it keeps on planning, because I've been living that life for a long time. I cannot jump to a complete surrender immediately. It is not possible. So आप जो वो surrender of sadhus की बात कर रहे थे कि next meal कहाँ से आएगी मुझे नहीं पता, but मुझे पता है मिलेगी, है ना. तो अब मैं एकदम से उस पर jump तो नहीं कर सकती ना. So I would say it's a gradual process for each one of us. Some of us are born with that kind of faith that I know that the next meal is provided, but not everyone. And it's nothing to say that some superior, inferior categorization is happening. Those of us who have good ideas in mind, it's a unique gift. Not everyone can have good ideas. The only problem is that I stick to my ideas. So now I have to use this unique ability that I have to have good ideas, good planning, and surrender this whole instrument to the mother or to the divine. उसकी प्यूरिफिकेशन करनी है ना. तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है प्लानिंग में, थिंकिंग में. देयर इज नथिंग रॉन्ग. We have thoughts, they are there for a reason, and that's why so many huge beautiful buildings have been created, because somebody had a plan. Somebody had a plan and it got manifested. So I don't think there is any problem with thought per se. It's the sticking that causes us problems. Sticking to my plan, my agenda, my thought. Yeah. So surrender in this case would be offering that stickiness to the divine. May I not stick to my plan. May that happen, which is the highest possible for everyone, including myself. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I don't want to start the new verse, although this was a bit short, but it doesn't matter. I think we have enough
The
stuff to.
previous verses, I didn't attend the workshop, so
Uh-huh.
if you can just pull up Atisha's verses
Yeah.
again. One of
Yeah,
them I wasn't
let me pull it up.
clear about. Yeah.
Yes.
The supreme remedy is to know that nothing has self nature. So, in this, what is self nature? Swabhav.
So self nature would be here indicating to, for example, if I talk about this bottle, this bottle, although I call it as a bottle and it feels like a solid thing in itself because of my senses, but if you look at its components, it's metal. Okay, so if I ask you, okay, touch the bottle, you would touch here. I would say no, but this is metal. I would say touch the bottle, you would maybe touch here. So I would say no, this is the handle. So saying that it's not a solid, rigid entity in itself. Although my senses make it appear that this is the bottle, but there is nothing solid, separate in it. It is made of different interconnected components. So just like that, if I look at myself, That I have to protect myself. And if I interrogate that, okay, where is this myself? I would touch my body, and maybe someone can say, okay, but this is four elements. But where are you? Okay, this is here. Where are you? This is my watch. So you cannot find a separate solid I. It's all made of several elements. And that is what to say that the remedy of my suffering is to know that I am actually not this solid, rigid, separate entity. I am vastly interconnected with everything. And if one of the elements goes berserk, gone. And Thich Nhat Hanh beautifully explained, he picks up a pencil. He says that when I look at this pencil, I see a cloud here. And he says, why I see a cloud? Because this pencil cannot be there if there is no rain, no tree, no pencil. And that's why we say that there is no solid self here. Nothing has self nature, that it's all made of interconnected elements. Like it's a fluid thing. And same for me. When I say me, it's like I am a fluid entity. No, nothing concrete that I have to protect. And that's what the part of egoistic consciousness come, because it thinks that I am something separate and solid, and I have to protect myself from the rest of the world. No? But when you interrogate like this, you see that no, where is the separation? There is no separation. So that was what was talked about in the self nature thing. Anything else?
नहीं, उसके बाद तो फिर in the following sessions
Yeah. So next we will take up this one. The supreme accomplishment is a continuous decrease of disturbing emotions. This will take up next week. Hopefully next week, or maybe.
This is still a little easier to understand, but the one we took today, the supreme conduct is to be in disharmony with the world.
Yeah.
This was interesting.
Yes. Yeah. And this is also very interesting that usually we relate accomplishment with कि कौन सी डिग्री मिल गई, कौन से शहर में चले गए, अच्छा बॉम्बे में चले गए, for example. But here they say something else, that the supreme accomplishment is this continuing decrease of disturbing emotions, which means that I am more and more connecting with my truest essence, true self. But we'll talk about it in detail next time. Great. So thank you, Ritu. Thank you, Aisha. And
Thank you, Monica.
yeah,
Thank you, Aisha.
happy practice to everyone, and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.